Slow living for the hyperactive minds and the restless souls. Actually, we are all kind of like falling victim to the hyperactivity that is coming at us. We no longer live in an information age. We live in an attention-seeking age. Money flows where attention goes, and everybody wants a piece of the pie. And the more we fall victim to everybody who's screaming for our attention, sometimes it feels a little bit like we are losing more touch with actually what is existing within ourselves. So simple living or slow living, it actually may sound like another buzzword that may fall into the self-care practice of, let's say, practicing mindfulness in nature, in the outdoors. For me it is. The hyperactive minds, I can confirm that quite recently I've been diagnosed with ADHD, Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. I was expecting to have at least ADD, Attention Deficit Disorder, because of my struggles with focus, concentration, consistency, persistence, which you could see in my upload schedule of my own YouTube channel. Always distracted with what's happening in the outside world around me. And what I've been longing for over the last years is to get more in touch with what is actually happening within myself, what is flowing through me, what is coming through me, and that I can express, and that can be expressed by me. Instead of always reacting, which is the repetition of the same act over and over again, it kind of feels like our minds can be a high-performance V8 engine. It's just like when we are hyperactive, it's like the struggle of finding the right kind of ignition, the spark that turns on this engine. And once it has been turned on, then the question is, how can we keep it running? With putting in the right kind of fuel of inspiration. But if we don't watch out for the kind of fuel we are putting in a petrol tank that can run our engine smoothly, if we have a high performance engine, we don't really come very far because we burn out of this high performance petrol. Let this high performance petrol be the source of all inspiration. To be inspired means to be in spirit. And that's exactly the source that can be experienced in the only very moments in this very present existence. If we constantly fall victim to all these outside distractions of the attention-seeking world, eventually we become attention deficit. We can't seem to keep our attention for longer than 6 seconds. So if you're ADD, ADHD, to watch a video about mindfulness and slow living is already a challenge on its own. But yet you know, it's the way forward to ease down the mind. It's also the restless soul that is constantly out there for new experiences. Experiences to remember thyself, of who you really want to be and want to become during the process, the experiences you want to accumulate. You're not so much in the search for outside fame, recognition, success, wealth, but more about experiences to grow, to self-actualize. And because of that, of this hyperactivity and the restlessness that exists within us, It's not longer a question of should I indulge myself in this luxury called self-care, or indulge myself in this luxury called simple living or slow living, because it ain't longer a luxury or an option, because you know it's a necessity. It's a necessity for you to grow and evolve by simply, first of all, easing down the hyperactivity that exists within your own mind. Once you can ease down the hyperactivity within your own mind, you can go further down, deeper to what exists exactly within your soul. Because once we learn to slow down, we are not learning only to ignite our engine, finding the spark, keep it running with the right kind of fuel of inspiration. But without a vehicle, an engine is nothing but an engine. And our vehicle is, of course, our purpose. A purpose that drives us of what it is that we want to create and build for ourselves. If I watch videos about simple living or slow living, it always looks a little bit like an escape from the real world. Now, of course, you could say the real world is, of course, the connection we can experience with nature, because the sun comes up in the morning and goes down in the evening. And that is indeed the real world. But we also, of course, have indeed these responsibilities. But the question is always like, what kind of responsibilities do you need? If you say like, well, I want to keep up with the cult we call our culture and the religion we call capitalism, you're always living upon the expectations of outside conditioning and dogmas. And living upon these expectations that has been projected on you is always making a step outside of yourself. But the question is, how do you navigate this world of conditions and expectations without losing yourself? That is, of course, the connection and the integration of your purpose. Like what exactly it is that you want to experience for yourself. And that all comes down to, first of all, taking a step back. Relax and take a step back. Reflect and look at what's happening in this present moment. Become an observer of what's happening instead of an unconscious reactor. Respond consciously by taking everything in as it is, without the judgments of how it should be. And it becomes like a navigation tool, like a GPS. Taking a couple steps back in order to step up in self-awareness, become more mindful over our own thoughts, feelings and emotions. Take everything as it is. It becomes a better practice when you have less things to respond to or less things to react to. And that comes down to simple living. Instead of falling victim to the expectations and demands of our world of consumerism and materialism, of always hunting out for the next thing, you can lose yourself during this process. Now, I'm not saying don't go after your freedom in independence and your own sovereignty, because this exactly it is what it is all about. But once we align with the laws of nature instead of the laws of mankind, you know what's real for you. For me, creating these videos, and I know it has been always a little bit of my own challenge because of my own hyperactivity that exists within my own mind. I always have like hundreds of things that is racing through my mind on a daily basis. Committing myself to this type of work, it's not longer a hobby that I should be doing once in a while. For me, it's an obligation, a responsibility to myself as my own practice. Because not dedicating yourself to any kind of purpose is once again is having an engine without a vehicle. But it's all these parts that goes together. And that is really how we can tie things together if we learn to slow down. Take a step back to step up in self-awareness, consciousness, become an observer, looking at the flow of water, looking down at the ripples of this little canal, and see as an infinite flow that always seems to flow. It's like whether you want to go with it or against it. So what are your thoughts? I'm wrapping up my evening walk as the sun goes down and someone is playing music in the background. And I'm going to hopefully meet you very soon in one of my next videos. Take care for now. Bye bye.